27 weeks. 27 weeks. I feel like my theme or mantra for pregnancy after loss is just going to continuously be the phrase hard but good to describe every week, because it is hard, but it is also good. And I think that's one of the biggest things in grief and pregnancy after loss and motherhood after loss, mothering a baby in heaven and carrying one here on earth in my womb. It's really about holding space for two things. And my grief is hard. It's also beautiful, but it's difficult. And life is beautiful and good in a lot of ways too, despite how much pain I'm in all the time. Week 27 was hard but good. For many of you who don't know, Bereaved Mother's Day is a holiday, and it happens the Sunday, I think, before regular Mother's Day. And I've heard about it for the first time last year. I was probably 10 days postpartum with my son Malachi when I heard about this holiday, and it's hard to feel celebrated or to want to celebrate on a holiday called Bereaved Mother's Day, because the implication is all about loss. And while I do think it is really heartfelt and important to recognize bereaved mothers as very much real mothers, and to have our own holiday, I also think what's wrong with just acknowledging bereaved mothers on Mother's Day? Not complaining about a holiday that we have, but it feels in some regard that Mother's Day is just for happy celebrations, and Bereaved Mother's Day is so that like the sad moms can just be over here. And so it's a complicated holiday. I do appreciate, I remember reading a lost mom shared that, like, her opinion, like, to mourn your baby on Bereaved Mother's Day and celebrate your baby on Mother's Day, which I liked that distinction for sure, but it's complicated. My motherhood's complicated. Everything's complicated with grief. I honestly felt in the pit, which was kind of crazy, because the days before I felt really light, more light than I've felt in a very long time, if we're being honest. Hopeful, more hopeful than I've felt in a really long time. And of course, that's still while holding space for my fear and my grief and my doubt to all be present there too, but allowing lightness to just enter into the picture and really lean into it, because it's such a fleeting thing that I just, instead of being like, oh, why am I feeling so light? Should I be feeling guilty that I'm feeling light? Have I forgotten Malachi because I'm feeling light? It's more like, it will pass. The sadness will come most likely again. So let's just lean into the lightness of this. Let's lean into the hope. Let's lean into the joy, even if it just, you can barely grasp it. I felt those feelings a couple days leading up to Bereaved Mother's Day, and it was a hard day. It was a really hard day. It made me think about where I was last year and how sad I was and how angry I was and how hurt I was that these were my circumstances and my son was gone. And it just felt complex. It felt very complex. Really crazy. I guess physical pregnancy update is my milk has been leaking. My colostrum has been leaking now on and off for the past couple of weeks. It started about a month ago, the first time I leaked, but it's really kicked up in the last couple of weeks, especially week 27. I had a lot of instances where I was leaking in my shirt. I was, it was a lot. And I just really think it's amazing what our bodies can do and what they're made to do. And I remember leaking with Malachi in my pregnancy around this time as well for the first time, and being so intimidated and weirded out that my body was doing that I've never experienced before. And I was I was so excited to breastfeed him, so excited. And it shattered me that I didn't get to. And I decided to suppress my milk because it was just too painful for me to pump and donate. I know a lot of lost moms and women do that, and I think that's really noble, but for my experience and where my heart was at, I felt like that was Malachi's milk and no one else's. And I just felt really protective of it. And so to have this time come around and see the milk coming out again, it has me feeling so bittersweet because I am hopeful that I'll get to do this with Eden, but I'm so sad that I haven't been able to. It's been something I really looked forward to as a mom. And I went to my lactation consultant a week before Malachi was born. And I was telling her, yeah, like I've been leaking a lot, for a while. And she's like, oh, you should have no problem with supply, no problem with feeding. And I'll never forget that she said that, because then my world came crashing down about a week later, and I didn't get to do any of that. And my breasts have been through it. They grow and they start producing milk so early with my pregnancy with Malachi. And then we lost him and they were engorged, and I expressed and I pumped a little bit for relief. And then I suppressed using like cabbage leaves and stuff like that. And it took about a month for the milk to dry up, which was really, really hard. I did get my breast milk put into some earrings and a ring, so I'll always cherish that. But yeah, and then I was postpartum and I got pregnant with Eden and ended up having to go through this whole experience again of my body changing, which, I don't mind. Like it's just, our women's bodies are just fluidly changing. And I remember one of my friends described like your childbearing years as like you're like Elastigirl, from The Incredibles, and your body just stretches and it just forms to whatever it needs to be in that season. And I definitely feel that way between my hips and my breasts and my arms and all sorts of things. And my breasts have grown again in preparation for feeding Eden. And this whole time I've been leaking, I just keep thinking like, wow, I want to feed a baby so bad. And I think they want to feed a baby so bad. Last time I feel like my body was so confused. The milk had nowhere to go. And I feel so robbed of that experience. And I just wanna hope that I'll get to do that with her. It feels like such a pipe dream sometimes to just imagine that I'll get to do that I'll give birth and she'll live and I'll get to feed her. And so it just breaks my heart thinking about it, but I also am so hopeful, and my body just wants to nourish and feed a baby so bad. And I know that wasn't our journey with Malachi, and it wasn't, he doesn't need my milk in heaven, but I still ache for it. My flesh literally still aches for it. My mother heart still aches for it. And I pray that will be redeemed with my daughter. So it's exciting and it's scary and it's all the things, but that was kind of the sum of the week. I spent a lot of time outside. I really just tried to enjoy the little things. If you'll see like in the like last videos of these vlogs, they're very normal everyday experiences. It's not like I'm doing super crazy, cool, fun things while I'm pregnant. I'm just trying to stay alive and keep my heart alive and find joy in the smallest things. And honestly, making a really good tea that I've been craving, or trying a new matcha recipe, sitting outside with my dogs, enjoying dinner out on the deck with my family for the first time this season. Like, it's all little things like that that just add up to like helping me find a reason to keep going. Of course, I have Eden to keep going, and I have my family to keep going. I have my husband to keep going, and so many people in my life to keep going for. But it's the difference. I find the difference in searching out these little pockets of lightness, these little pockets of joy, even though that feels like sometimes too strong of a word. That's how I get through this, you know, because if this is all the time I have with Eden, I want it to be filled with these kinds of things where I just live, and I decided to live, even though the worst has happened. I didn't want to lay in bed this whole pregnancy and fear everything and be sad, even though I am really sad. And it's so complicated. So, this is how you stay alive. This is how you hope again. And this is how you just trust the process, trust God in the process, and find his light and joy in the tiniest places, in the most simplest of situations and things. And that's how we keep going. So here's to 27 weeks.